Good evening, and welcome to Altos, your weekly Catholic news program done in collaboration with Trinity TV. We begin this evening with an apology for our absence last week. This was due to technical difficulties beyond our control. Now here's a look at this week's top stories. The Minister of Education announced recently that male students under the age of 16 expelled from secondary school will be sent to the MyLAT program. We have responses from some education stakeholders. We continue our series on organizations helping the poor. This week, we step outside the Catholic Church and visit the Salvation Army. The Church's new liturgical year begins with Advent this Sunday. We will learn a bit more about this season. And later, we come back on set with economist and Catholic News columnist Dr. Marlene Atz to discuss the unresolved issues of the national economy and look ahead to 2024. And now for our top story. The Education Ministry has amended the disciplinary matrix for expelled male students to now include mandatory enrollments in MyLAT, the military-led academic training program. The move has been welcomed by education stakeholders who shared on the causes of indiscipline and gave suggestions. Laura Pickford-Gordon has more in this story.
With the number of expelled students increasing from 3 last year to 10 this year, Education Minister Dr. Nian Gadsby-Dolly on November 23rd announced there will be compulsory registration in MyLAT for students whose behaviors remain unchanged despite interventions. Chief Executive Officer of the Catholic Education Board of Management, Sharon Mangru, said the program's structured environment will assist students. Mangru said post-pandemic, there has been an increase in indiscipline.
In most of the cases, they've got traumas that they are living with that come from somewhere else. Most cases from the home or from the community environment. And so we see coming out of the whole COVID, all events surrounding COVID, you're going to see these impacting on the students. And if they do not have the additional help that they need, they're going to act out.
The Presbyterian Secondary Schools Board of Education applauds the move to cater for the needs of expelled students. Chairman Ashford Tambi, however, said proper research is needed before implementation.
Many of these students experience social, mental, emotional, and behavioral traumas in their lives and are unable to be treated due to the lack of resources. Therefore, a proper deep dive into the causes of these types of behaviors also needs to be conducted.
Head of the National Council of Parent Teachers Association, Walter Stewart, suggested interventions for indiscipline start from the primary level.
During these elementary stages of the child's life and development, programs, measures, procedures, systems, policies, and principles need to be inculcated in the education system so that students are made aware of the effect of and the impact on social life if they continue, if they adopt these antisocial behaviors, these deviant behaviors.
He recommends that the ministry and all stakeholders meet to discuss new mechanisms for primary schools to prevent what is happening at the secondary level.
This we are appealing for, and of course we want to be able to meet with the Minister of Education and other stakeholders in order to come up with that plan of action to effect a more disciplined approach among our primary school students.
While the MyLAT program is presently only for males 16 to 20 years, Minister Gadsby-Dolly said catering for girls is one of its short-term goals. She said the ministry routinely writes to the Ministries of National Security, Youth Development and National Service, Social Development and Family Services about any expelled students. Gadsby-Dolly said other government programs are accessible through these ministries, so there are opportunities for training and personal development. I am Laura Pickford-Gordon for Catholic News, Altos.
Southerner Miguel Simon won the senior category at the Catholic Charismatic Renewal Gospel Ipso Final at the Southern Academy of the Performing Arts, San Fernando. Simon sang Mayday, Mayday at the finals held on Sunday, November 26th. In the juniors category, Cindy Ann Bigford emerged the champion with her song, Don't Quench the Fire. Eric Powder from Tobago captured the Archbishop's trophy with Amazing Fire. Here's a bit of some of the winning performances.
I calling on you, I leading the way. 'cause no more Catholics in Trinbago. We on fire for sure, so bless. Don't quench the fire. It has substance to our soul. It is God who's in control. Don't quench the fire. Don't quench the fire. The fire of the Holy Spirit, God's blessing comes within it. Don't quench the fire.
Just fire in my soul. Is the Savior take control? I don't want this church fire to stop at all. Oh no, I don't want this church fire to stop at all. No way, I don't want this church fire to stop at all. No.
San Fernando Parish priest Father David Can did the opening prayer. Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon sent his greetings, while Chair of the Catholic Charismatic Renewal Service team, Deborah DeRosie, welcomed the audience. You can read the whole list of results in this weekend's issue of the Catholic News. Ahead of Sunday's consultative referendum, the Venezuelan Episcopal Conference of Catholic Bishops issued a statement in support of the government's position on the ownership of the Essequibo, long believed to be part of Guyana. The referendum addresses a long-standing dispute with Guyana over nearly 160,000 square kilometers west of the Essequibo River, dating back to the 19th century. The religious leaders in their statement expressed support for Venezuela's territorial sovereignty over the Essequibo, highlighting the Church's enduring presence at the border, contributing to the value, protection, and development of this sovereignty. They also voiced concern about the need for comprehensive and transparent information dissemination by authorities regarding the referendum's significance and potential consequences. Archbishop Jesus Gonzalez de Zarate Salas of Cumana, serving as president of the conference, was among the signatories to the statement. The matter is currently under the scrutiny of the International Court of Justice, who is expected to give a ruling later today, Friday. Meanwhile, Guyana's Vice President Barra Jagdeo has warned Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro not to, quote, ever question, unquote, the resolve of Guyana, reiterating that the population remains united in the face of claims by Caracas to the ownership of the mineral and forest-rich area of Essequibo. The Salvation Army has a long history locally and globally of serving those in need. The organization began its work in Trinidad in 1901, and their annual Red Kettle campaign is one of the oldest fundraisers of its kind in the world, and it has shown that spare change can really make a big difference. Here is our correspondent, Clysha Best, with more.
The ringing of bells outside of local businesses signals the beginning of the holiday season for the Salvation Army. The organization kicked off its Christmas kettle drive a few weeks ago with the aim of raising $600,000 to fund their holiday giving and beyond. But their kettle kickoff isn't the only thing that they are about. They also provide the less fortunate with food and clothing through their various drives, and they even assist with temporary affordable housing for young working women, and most importantly, teach souls about the gospel of Jesus Christ. Major Chris Mathias provided us with some background information on the Salvation Army.
Basically, we exist to save souls, grow saints, and serve suffering humanity. Our founder, William Booth, found that it was very difficult to minister the gospel to persons who are hungry and certainly in need. And so we not only seek to cater to the spiritual man, but the physical man as well.
Major Mathias also enlightened us on how the Red Kettle Christmas Drive began and how the funds are used.
The concept started many years ago in San Francisco in the USA. Around this time, you would see our red kettle pots and stands at various malls, supermarkets, various locations, and persons manning these kettle stands where they're requesting donations from the public to assist us again with our social outreach programs. Our Christmas Kettle Drive and the funds raised therein are not just for our Christmas outreach. It is Christmas and beyond, because as we like to say in the Salvation Army, need knows no season.
Major Mathias even had some advice for other charities and expressed his warmest thanks to those who volunteer.
I think it is important that we try our utmost best to always be as transparent as possible. I certainly want to thank our volunteers thank Trinidad and Tobago, thank the general public, and we continue to look forward to their assistance in whatever area they can assist in advancing the work and ministry of the Salvation Army.
I am Clysha Best for Catholic News, Altos.
Archbishop Emeritus Robert Wreath, who has returned to Trinidad after being hospitalized in Ireland, launched his new book, The Face of a Listening Church, on Thursday, November 29th at the St. Dominic's Pastoral Center in Diego Martin. Laura Pickford-Gordon was there with editor Raymond Simmons on camera.
The book took 2 years and captures the joy Archbishop Wreath feels for the church.
And the church has become my life forever. And that is why, when you read The Face of the Listening Church, joy bounces out from the pages. Because it's real stuff, it's reflected stuff, it's pondered stuff, it's stuff that by the wise are I have chewed on.
Archbishop Wreath thanked God for inspiration and giving him health and determination to pursue ideas as they came in different phases to develop the book.
Whatever is written here came through inspiration, because that's how I write anyway. I am inspired and I write.
Wreath has the distinction of having his book distributed during the Synod of Bishops in Rome. The Synod on Synodality ran from October 4th to 29th. Apostolic Nuncio Archbishop Santiago de Witt Guzman said this was the first of a bishop of the Antilles Episcopal Conference.
The book has become a very precious gift, a very precious work, and of course a very useful and interesting and helpful tool for everybody who wants to understand.
Archbishop Wreath presented the book to Pope Francis at an audience on November 18th. Also speaking at the launch was Professor Emeritus Clement Imbert, a former Holy Cross College schoolmate of the Archbishop. I am Laura Pickford-Gordon for Catholic News, Altos.
Pope Francis, who was scheduled to visit Dubai from December 1st to 3rd to address the COP28 summit and meet with world leaders, has had to cancel his trip due to ongoing ill health. The Vatican spokesperson Matteo Bruni said in a statement, quote, "Although the Holy Father's general clinical picture has improved with regard to his flu-like condition and inflammation of his respiratory tract, doctors have asked the Pope not to make the trip planned for the coming days to Dubai." The 86-year-old pontiff is an outspoken advocate for climate action. He was expected to address a number of issues at COP28, including funding for loss and damage to help poor and vulnerable countries facing climate disasters and fossil fuels. 7 Vatican delegates will be attending COP28 to represent the voices of those who do not take part in the negotiations, such as indigenous peoples and marginalized populations and countries. The Holy See has been a party to the Convention of the United Nations Climate Conference, COP, since 2022. The Bethesda for Persons with Disabilities group celebrated a milestone on November 19th as its first group of persons with disabilities received the sacrament of confirmation. Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon presided at the Mass held at St. Paul's RC Church in Couva. Laura Pickford-Gordon tells us more in this report.
9 persons with different disabilities like autism, Down syndrome, and lupus were confirmed. Bethesda used the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops guidelines for the preparation of persons with disabilities for the sacraments and a faith formation kit from Loyola Press, which includes puzzles and photos. Bethesda Director Sarah Lafoucault said incorporating photos of the candidates helped them to learn.
We were able to, again, using pictures to lead them. The entire baptismal promises were broken down into 5 main categories. And with those 5 main categories, they were able to either signal using their sign, I do, or for the 4 of the 9 candidates who were able to talk, they all said, I do.
I am Laura Pickford-Gordon for Catholic News, Altos.
Advent is upon us, beginning Sunday, December 3rd, and it's time to immerse ourselves in the beauty of the Advent wreath, a symbol of anticipation and hope. The Catholic News' Andre Burton has more.
Creating an Advent wreath can be done alone or can be a family affair, a tangible representation of our collective longing for Christ. The Family Life Commission gathered families together to create wreaths for their homes. 5 candles adorn the wreath, a journey through the weeks of Advent. 3 purple candles for preparation, 1 pink for rejoicing on Gaudete Sunday, and a white one symbolizing the Christ child. In a world bustling with commercialization, the Advent wreath stands as a reminder to remember to keep Christ in Christmas. As each candle is lit, we illuminate not just the room but our hearts, fostering a sense of peace and reflection. The journey of faith, much like crafting this wreath, is shared with Jesus and each other, bringing meaning to our lives. Together, let's weave our hopes, prayers, and preparations into our wreaths at home or at Mass, keeping Christ at its heart. Have a blessed Advent. I am Andre Burton, reporting for Catholic News, Altos.
Let us remember, as Andre said, that Advent is an opportunity to center our celebrations around the Advent wreath, a symbol of Christ's arrival. It's now time for us to take a short break, and when we come back, we do so with economist Dr. Marlene Atz to talk about some unresolved issues in the national economy and look forward to 2024. Before we go, have a look at our trivia question. See if you can come up with the right answer. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back after the break. We hope you're able to get the answer to our trivia question. Dr. Marlene Atz is an economist. She's a lecturer at the University of the West Indies, and she's a columnist for Catholic News. We spoke to her recently just after the budget came out, but we talked to her again today about a number of issues, the closure of Petron and the budgeting requirements for that, as well as how we as ordinary citizens manage our own budgets going into 2024, given the impending increases in electricity rates, water rates, and the property tax. Dr. Atz, Marlene, welcome back to the set. We told you we'd bring you back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
Yes. And let's start immediately with Petron. It's 5 years since the closure of Petron. That was a budgeting decision that the government said they had to make. Tell us a little bit, what are the lessons from that for Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, I first want to take off on the point of a budgeting decision. I totally agree with you. I think what happened is that certainly what is in the public space, what the government presented, was that there were 2 bullet payments. The loans that were taken by Petron, a bullet payment of several hundreds of millions of US dollars. One was becoming due in 2019, and another bullet payment, several hundreds of millions of US dollars, was becoming due in 2022. And based on the information that the government has provided, and I don't want to get into some of the noise around the Petron issue, and certainly some of the reports that were done on Petron, so there's a Lashley report, there was a Joint Select Committee report done on Petron, and certainly those reports pointed to some issues of mismanagement and some governance issues, which I think all culminated to making this situation a little bit untenable. And the government took the decision, and I suspect it was not an easy decision, to close the company because it was not being as commercially viable as we wanted to see it. And then, there were all of the consequences from that, the unemployment, etc. And I do think, in terms of lessons learned, because there is a lot of noise around the Petron issue, I think we need to sort of quiet ourselves a little bit and try to look back on some of the lessons. So if in fact those governance and management issues and lack of accountability and lack of transparency issues were some of the conditions that led to the demise of the company, I think we need to be honest and retrospective and ensure that it doesn't happen again in terms of the national patrimony. So from my perspective, both as an economist and as Citizen Jane, so to speak, I would want us to kind of revisit it, not to apportion blame, because what was happening at the time was that we were suffering from very low energy prices. So the government's revenue stream was a bit challenged, but I think as a country, before we move forward and we progress forward, we need to understand what mistakes have been made and try not to repeat them moving forward.
Unfortunately, it's one of the characteristics of our country. We don't really take that much time to go back, examine.
Yes, and because somehow we think looking back, will turn us into salt or something like that.
But you mentioned, for instance, in terms of low revenues. We are going into 2024, where a lot of a significant portion of the country is on a fixed income since 2014, since 2013. Petron was a budgeting decision for the government on a national scale. A lot of us have to make now adjustments to our budgets on a local scale, on a domestic scale. We have the impending electricity increase rates, we have impending WASA rates to deal with, and we have the property tax to deal with. How do we respond? How do we manage our own budgets now in light of this?
I think that's an important consideration, and it's particularly important going into Christmas because, Chinese, we catch a glad for Christmas.
We like to spend.
We love to spend, and then it is compounded by the fact that some citizens will enjoy, grateful for them. They will enjoy back pay. So there's probably going to be a little more money and people are going to want to enjoy themselves because really and truly, I think this is perhaps one of the first years post-COVID that people are able to relax and move around. And then, as I said, some public sector workers will have some extra income.
And then we realize that January will have 54 days.
Yeah, because yes, Carnival is right around the corner. So we're moving from sea to sea, from Christmas to Carnival, so to speak. In fact, that's probably a good calypso. But anyway, so we're going into that period and people will want to get excited over the Christmas. So I want to urge caution, which I always do, because you're correct. The electricity rates, the RIC has pronounced, the government has accepted those rates, and I think people actually started calculating their new rates. But for Christmas we have to put up all the lights and we have to compete with the neighbor and we have to do this and we have to do all of these fancy things that we have to do. And I want to sound some caution. So one thing, for example, people think that LED lights, because they're so expensive, I don't think people understand that LED lights, while they're a little more expensive, they actually are precisely the energy conserving kinds of lights. So penny wise, pound foolish. So you might want to spend a little bit more money with the LED. Don't run competition with the neighbor. The neighbor has their own business to deal with. Try to manage within your means. But if you feel that you need to put up lights, etc., probably investing in some of the LED lights. Manage some of your household circumstances in terms of the number of things that you have on. So if you have to wash the curtains, you have to do this, you have to do that. Manage how you do your wash loads. Little things like that I think will make a difference in terms of your consumption. Because I do have a household myself. So you do have to manage these things moving forward because in the blinking of an eye, the rates are going to be increased, the new rates will be implemented, and you will find yourself trying to figure out, well, what happened here? And we always tend to see a spike, I think, in your electricity bill around Christmas time because you want to light up the place and pretty up, etc. And you're correct, there is also the conversation around the property tax, which in Budget 2024, when the minister read that on October the 2nd, he promised that it was going to be implemented in 2024. And that too has resulted in a lot of noise, and I would welcome the opportunity for us to have a chat in terms of demystifying some of what was said.
And you did provide us with some slides that we could probably look at that would give us an idea of what a property tax valuation actually looks like.
Yes. Some arithmetic. I mean, I don't work for the Ministry of Finance, but doing some of the quick arithmetic so that some of our viewers will understand what it looks like or what it could look like for their household. So some persons have already started to receive their valuation from the Ministry of Finance. I forget which one of their divisions actually does it, but you will actually have started to receive it in the mail. So in the first, so let's go back a little bit in terms of what the budget said. The budget said, the minister said it's going to start in 2024. And he said that, what it's going to be based on is what they call the annual rental value. So let us presume that your house can be rented for $2,000 a month. The annual rental value will be that $2,000 by 12, which will be $24,000. You then discount that $24,000 by 10%, so you take out $2,400 from that annual rental value. And that balance that you get, it's 3% of that is going to be your property tax for the year. So in the example, it is going to be $21,600 is going to be what the 3% property tax is going to be levied on. And that is going to take you to in the vicinity of $70-something per month in terms of your property tax. So it is really very basic arithmetic. When you get the document from the ministry, from the valuation division, don't look at the big number.
Right.
You don't get excited by the big number.
You discount 10%.
You take 10% from that, and then the remaining balance, you take 3% of that, and that is really going to be what is your annual value.
Marlene, in the example you just showed us there, at that rate, the monthly tax is $76 or something.
Yes, that's
like
correct.
that.
Something, yeah.
A 5-piece box of chicken.
Yes. Chicken and chips
at
yes.
one of the outlets is $80.
Yes.
So if I forego one 5-piece for the month.
So let's say you do 5-piece every Friday night. You go home with the family and you have that's your Friday night family lime. You know, with a 5-piece. Make chicken home one Friday night.
Or pizza night.
Or pizza night or something like that.
So one of that could easily pay for my...
Or your Sunday morning, fast food breakfast. Sunday mornings people usually doubles precisely. Or your bacon shark. It's really not onerous unless, of course, you're living on fixed income one. Or if you're living in a multi-million-dollar home, so let's say you're living in a $10 million home that has an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and you have 10 cars, etc., and you're in a particular geographic area, your annual rental value is not going to be $2,000.
Right. It's going to be much higher.
It's going to be much higher than that. But if you are on fixed incomes, and I think there may have been a conversation...
And there are some concessions.
There are some concessions to persons who are on fixed incomes. My other concern is, and I think this is something that our audience, both in terms of persons who might be tenants, who might be renting apartments, and persons who are actually owners of homes that they're renting, please, if your property tax is $176 a month or $150 a month, and you have 2 tenants, don't charge each other. Be a little reasonable, because we all are trying to navigate economic uncertainty coming up in the next year. So let's kind of spread the burden, as it were.
All right, Marlene, thanks very much. This is something that we can go on and on about, because there are some permutations that persons, retirees, pensioners,
Absolutely.
Who really need to grapple with this. So the invitation is out there for you to come back again and join us a third time. Yes? So
it will be my pleasure.
really good chatting with you. We've been talking with Dr. Marlene Atz, economist and lecturer at the University of the West Indies. We come back shortly.
Altos, from the Latin altus, meaning high. Every Friday night we feature the top news items hot off the press. We are taking a leap of faith on Trinity TV. Jump in with us for this new and exciting experience.
Offer congratulations to our priests celebrating their anniversaries. Here's a look now at some upcoming events in the Archdiocese. An associate editor of the Catholic News, Simone de Lochan, gives us a sneak peek at the contents of this week's edition.
Ways we can avoid overspending. In the December 3rd issue of the Catholic News, the ever-creative Archbishop Emeritus Robert Rivas talks to senior writer Laura Pickford-Gordon about his life and exploration of music and photography. And Finbar Garcia gives ways we can avoid overspending for both Christmas and Carnival. I am Simone de Lochan, Associate Editor of the Catholic News.
And remember to get your copy of the Catholic News and pick up one for your neighbor as well. You can catch a repeat as well of this program at 3 p.m. on Sundays right here on Trinity TV. We leave you with a little more as we close with some gospel ipso from the finals at Sapa. Here's Dabria Batiste singing The Recipe. Have a good week, everyone.